Hello guys and welcome to this video. Finally, here it is, my exchange with the European Commission. Sorry that it took so long, but the exchange went on for quite a while and it was even more pointless than I actually expected. So I'm not really sure how to, or I was not really sure how to make this video actually, because it probably the correspondence that I had with the European Commission is just utterly uninteresting. But I mean, since I promised the video, well, here it is, and well, I can tell you already that the result was rather underwhelming, so to speak. Now, I talked about that a little bit in my community section, but just for everybody who did not read it in the community section, as you perhaps know, I live in Austria, which is one of the member states of the European Union. And well, there are in the European Union and in every member state, you can find a noise ordinance. And it's not only a national noise ordinance that we have here, but the European Union, actually in Brussels or Strasbourg, they also have their own environmental noise directive that the member states have to stick to. Now, if you want to read more about this environmental noise directive, the link is in the description. And here is a picture of their website. They have a very nice and comprehensive website. So just to give you a few of the bullet points, the Environmental Noise Directive, the main EU law to identify and address noise pollution levels. Overview, the Environmental Noise Directive is the main European Union law to identify noise pollution levels and act on them. It focuses on 4 action areas: determining exposure to environmental noise and assessing its health effects at single dwelling level, ensuring that information on environmental noise and its effects is made available to the public, preventing and reducing environmental noise. So that's a point that is particularly interesting for us. And then number 4, preserving environmental noise quality in areas where it is good. The directive requires EU countries to it's early in the morning, my English sucks more than usual. The directive requires EU countries to prepare and publish noise maps and noise management action plans every 5 years for etc., etc. So just on a side note, it's funny, they have a 5-year plan, like the Soviet Union always used to have. But, you know, that's just a snarky remark from my side. So, you see, this all sounds pretty good. And keep in mind that you see already on the top of the website that this is a law. So this is not just a recommendation, it actually has the status of a law. So the member states have to carry these out. All right, now you know probably where I'm going with this. So I read through this noise directive, which of course you can do as well. It's all available online. And what I thought is remarkable is that the noise pollution by barking is not mentioned anywhere. Although we know that barking is or has become actually one of the main noise sources in many human contexts now, no matter if you live in the European Union or in the United States or wherever. So they're not mentioning, or at least I didn't find it, they're not mentioning the dog barking, and I thought I might actually contact them, because you can contact them, and I did that a few years ago concerning a different topic. And back then, when I contacted them, I received an absolutely brilliant answer, I really have to say. So there really was somebody who looked into my query, and we had a very interesting exchange actually. So I thought perhaps the same might happen here. But I will show you actually what happened. So I will just read my first email that I sent to them. Just quickly, dear sir, madam, I'm contacting, oh Jesus, I am contacting you in regards to the environmental noise directive described on your website. I very much welcome the EU's efforts to mitigate noise pollution wherever possible, and thank you for your hard work regarding this huge problem. The question I have would be in relation to the noise pollution caused by dogs. I could not find any resources on your websites regarding this particular noise source, and would be grateful if you provided me with a particular contact address for it. The pollution by pet dog barking has massively increased in many EU countries within the last decade, up to the point that many neighborhoods in countries like Hungary, the United Kingdom, Austria, Romania, etc. have become basically uninhabitable due to constant noise pollution by dog barking, which all too often goes on for 24 hours per day, and which in many areas has by far surpassed traffic noise by now. It has unfortunately also become quite common that local municipalities do not enforce their own noise pollution regulations anymore if dogs are the cause for the noise. However, not even a fraction of the average noise caused by dogs is being tolerated when caused by any other animal, be it livestock or pets. Please be so kind as to inform me which EU department would be the right place to discuss this issue with. Thank you very much in advance for your efforts. Yours sincerely, yada yada yada. Now, the first answer that I received was as follows. Thank you for contacting the Europe Direct Contact Center. Further to your inquiry, we would like to inform you that the directive does not set a limit or target values for environmental noise, nor does it prescribe the measures to be included in the action plans. This is for the competent member state authorities to decide. We would advise you to contact the Austrian Ministry of the Environment. If you would also like to complain against the national authorities, you can contact the National Ombudsman. We hope you find this information useful. Please contact us again if you have other questions about the European Union, its activities or institutions. Yes, so in my opinion, this is not exactly the answer that I was actually looking for. So they are talking about, filing a complaint or something, and well, that's not at all what I wanted. I was looking for somebody who is actually working on this European Noise Directive, because, I just presumed that this directive did not just fall out of the sky. There was probably a commission or some kind of a task force who came up with it. So I just wanted a contact address from somebody in that commission or in that task force. And yeah, so they advised me to contact the Austrian Ministry of the Environment or the Ombudsman. So we are already on a national level here, so they apparently don't want to deal with it. So that was not exactly what I wanted. But you can imagine I contacted them again to clarify this misunderstanding. So I replied, however, I might not have formulated my request clearly enough. I was not looking to file a complaint with a particular member state's authorities. Therefore, I hope you do not mind if I reiterate my request for a contact within the European Commission staff who participated in the creation of the Environmental Noise Directive and who would take questions regarding that directive. Since it is stated on the directive's website that the Environmental Noise Directive is the main EU law to identify noise pollution levels and act on them, first sentence, I am sure that there is a specific department or specific staff in the European Commission that should be able and willing to take queries from the public. Since I could not find any specific person's contact details in the directive itself, I kindly ask you to provide these details. Thank you in advance for your kind help. Now, the reply that I received was an automated reply. Dear Sir, Madam, thank you for your message. We regret to inform you that you have written to an unmonitored mailbox. To contact the Europe Direct Contact Center, we invite you to visit our contact page, etc., etc. So basically, you can not reply to what they've written to you. You actually have to file, if you want to reply to them in an ongoing correspondence, every time you have to open a new issue with them. Which is, I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but which is just totally stupid. I mean, that is extremely inefficient. It's extremely stupid, and every time you reply to them, your issue gets a new number. So that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but all right. I mean, I thought, look, I'm going to do it, whatever. So this is the new query that I opened with a new number. So I opened a new issue number with the following message. You have replied to my email query with an email on the 3rd of January 2025. However, the email address from which you sent your reply is unmonitored and cannot be replied back to, which I frankly find highly irregular. Here a copy of my reply. Righty-ho. Here, next reply. Thank you for contacting blah blah blah. We apologize that it is not possible to reply to emails from the Europe Direct Contact Center by using the reply function in your email system. This is part of our email security policy. Many other call centers have the same policy. Now, just as a side note, I actually myself worked in call centers and in customer support, and this is just absolute nonsense. I mean, excuse me to be so blunt about it, but that completely defeats the purpose of any correspondence. This is not a standard operating procedure of a call center that in an ongoing correspondence, with every reply you have to open a new issue. That is totally ineffective, it's totally inefficient, and it causes 5 times as much work as necessary. So this is just not true. But let's go on. In the meantime, you can always get an immediate response if you phone us, or alternatively, you can use our contact form to write to us. Yes, well, I did write to them, so I'm not really sure why they actually send me the link again, which I have obviously used already twice. With regard to our reply sent on the 3rd of January for case yada yada yada, we kindly inform you that the Environmental Noise Directive aims to establish a common EU approach to avoid, prevent or reduce the harmful effects of exposure to environmental noise. Yes, I know. You stated on the website. Has nothing to do with my question. The directive does not include a common noise reduction objective nor EU noise limits. Ah, all right. Well, now we are getting to the core of the issue. However, please note that directives require EU countries to achieve a certain result, but leave them free to choose how to do so. So I'm not quite sure what the difference is now between the previous sentence, that the directive does not include EU noise limits, but the directive requires EU countries to achieve a certain result. So what exactly is the difference now? I mean, isn't a noise limit that you're going to achieve, is that not achieving a certain result? All right. I mean, I really don't know. Perhaps I'm the one who's stupid here. But then they say they leave it, but they leave them free to choose how to do so. Yes, that is, again, nothing that I was mentioning. So this is, they can reduce the noise levels however they want. I don't care how they stop the stupid dog barking. I really don't bloody care. They should just do it. Yeah. But we are not even we are not there yet, you know. The noise barking is not even mentioned in the directive. So we are not talking about how the member states actually have to enforce the directive. I mean, this is a lot of, you know, politicians talk that is, you know, talking a lot but saying nothing. But anyway, let's go on. Therefore, please check with the member states' authorities that are responsible for the enforcement of the national legislation implementing the provisions of the Environmental Noise Directive. It doesn't make sense. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. The directive does not talk about dog barking. So there is no point going to the national authority level and asking them how they implement the European Union's noise directive. Because they would just go on about the other points in the directive, you know, about traffic noise, noise from airplanes, noise from construction sites, whatever. They're not even looking into the dog barking. The dog barking is just something that, you know, the member states themselves, they can include it in the regulations or not, however they want to. That's not what I was talking about. And it just makes me crazy that, like, it is so obvious that they just try to obfuscate the issue that you brought up, and they're going on about all these other topics and issues that have nothing to do with the original query. And then they just hope that at some point you'll just give up. And then, you know, they just go on. I mean, I leave it up here, the rest of the text that that they send me, but it's a lot of waffling that, again, has nothing to do with my original query, and which is completely pointless to the questions, to answer the questions I had. So, as I said, if you would like to go through the entire text of their reply, you can pause the video and read it for yourself, but I don't want to bore everybody with it now. So I'll just go on and go to my third query now. And as you know by now, for the third query, I actually had to open a new query because you cannot reply to them in the email directly. You cannot use the reply button. You have to open a new issue. Now, next issue. I started to get a bit vexed by that point. I'm replying to you regarding my previous queries, number blah blah and number blah blah. I herewith acknowledge that you have so far refused twice to provide the information I asked for, and instead provided 2 replies containing information that has nothing to do with my question. I also regret to inform you that your claim regarding sending replies from an unmonitored email address is factually incorrect. Such an approach is by no means a standard operating procedure of call centers. I have worked in call centers and in customer service myself, and such an approach would defeat the purpose of any efficient customer service. If you do not mind, I will take the liberty to publish our correspondence to a broader public on social media. Yours sincerely. Now, the reply that I got now clearly shows that they got pissed off as well. Listen to this. Thank you for contacting the Europe Direct Contact Center. Yeah, you're welcome. We have consulted the Directorate General for Environment. Please find below the answer to your question. In italics, please be aware that the management of environmental noise coming from dogs is a matter left to the member states to regulate, if they so wish. The EU has no grounds to interfere. Directing you to a department of the European Commission would therefore be fruitless. We have provided you with all the information relevant to your question to the best of our knowledge and ability. We regret that you are not satisfied with the answers, but there is nothing we can add. We ask you for your understanding that there can be no further correspondence on this issue. We hope you find this information useful. Please contact us again if you have other questions about the European Union, its activities or institutions. All right. So, well, after that I dropped the whole issue, of course, because you see that there's just no point in trying to discuss that with them. So bottom line is, yeah, they leave it up to the member states how to deal with that issue with the dog barking. Yes, I know that they do, but as you saw in the beginning, that was not my question. Yeah, my question was, why is the dog barking not included as a noise source in the European Union's Noise Directive? I never got an answer to that, and I never got the contact details for anybody who is actually working on the implementation of that European Union's Noise Directive. So I really don't want to go on too long about this, but you see how fruitless it actually is to try to discuss anything with the European Commission or with any European Union authority. I just want to close with a few general remarks. Now, this is exactly the kind of correspondence that you can expect when you as a member of the population, as a member of the plebs, try to contact the overlords in Brussels or in Strasbourg. So it is pretty clear that they don't really want to deal with the population. And this attitude that they display is actually one of the reasons why so many people are totally frustrated with the European Union authorities. And if you live in one of the member states, I mean, I hope I do have a few viewers from European Union countries, then you probably know the problem. And you hear it everywhere in the population, no matter what your political affiliation is, that people start asking, why do we actually have these authorities if legal action or regulation is just so complicated and is so detached from reality that you cannot even ask a question, and you're just being bombarded with a lot of politicians talk that is talking a lot but not saying anything. And so what's the point? Basically, what's the point? And I know this channel is not a political channel, and I'm not going to say you should be against the European Union authorities in Brussels or Strasbourg. But if you think about it, then things like these are exactly the reason why things like Brexit happen. I mean, you can talk about the European Union authorities as much as you want and go into details, but this kind of arrogant and callous attitude, talking down to the the average population in the member states, and disregarding their queries. This is exactly the kind of mindset that you find in the EU authorities, and that's the reason why in many countries there's a discussion going on about why do we actually have to put up with that? Why can we not just take care of our own stuff? So I do not really see what the point of a European Union noise directive is if then in the end, they will just say, well, we leave it up to the member states. Well, if you leave it up to the member states, then what's the point of your directive? I mean, you say on your website that it is a law, this directive, so it is legally binding, but then in the end, it's somehow not legally binding, and you leave it up to the states, I really don't know. And you can go on into all sorts of administrative details and everything, but this is the reason why Brexit happened. It's as simple as that. People are just fed up with this nonsense, and they say, look, we want to take care of our stuff, and we don't want any overlords sitting in Brussels and just completely disregarding what the population wants. So please give us back our agency, and we'll take care of it ourselves. We don't need people in Brussels sitting there that cannot be contacted, that are not willing to reply to a query, and that are just flooding you via a call center, flooding you with some politicians' talk that is not providing any answers. So, I mean, this is basically all I want to say to that. And yeah, so you see, this was extremely fruitless, extremely time consuming. So this took weeks now, weeks of back and forth in an incredibly inefficient manner. So you have to open a ticket every time you want to reply. And yeah, so I'm sick of this, and I'm definitely not I'm definitely not going to try this another time. But that was probably exactly what they wanted. So that was their goal, to deter you from contacting them again. All right. So thanks for listening to all my rambling. Don't forget, stay away from dogs. They're all assholes. You have a good day now. And goodbye.